On today's episode of the Cryptoverse, crowd power to the rescue as a class action is filed to block the IRS from extracting Coinbase user data. Dash is the privacy-focused digital currency that offers transactions with instant confirmations. Its unique, decentralized decision-making and self-funding system make it an ideal choice as a stable and secure digital cash. Click the link in the video description to learn more. Hi there guys, and welcome to the latest episode of the Cryptoverse, your regular dose of news and commentary on Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and blockchains. I am your host, Chris Coney. So let's do the market roundup, shall we? So we turn to CoinMarketCap to look at the biggest winner and the biggest loser of the day. So biggest loser of the day is Augur. Augur is the 10th most capitalized coin, and it has shaved 5.81% in the last 24 hours, putting an Augur token at $2.94. Looking at the chart on CoinMarketCap here, the price has been pretty flat historically, and recently it's been given a bit of a dip. Now in terms of the biggest winner, in 16th position is Stellar, and 32.76% gain in the last 24 hours, which is huge. And I think there's some news that's come out about Stellar that has pushed that up. And it puts a Stellar token at, well, it's 0.2 cents, so it's less than a cent that it is worth. About 20% of a cent, if you know what I mean. And I found a story on Steemit, which says Stellar has partnered up with some of the biggest names in the world of remittance for more efficiency. So things like ICICI Bank and whatever else. I'll put a link to this article in the show notes so you can check this out. But I imagine those kind of partnerships is why $1.4 million worth of Stellar has been traded in the last 24 hours, which is abnormally high. And it seems to be a lot of buying going on there to push the price up nearly 33% in 24 hours. So good for them. Turning quickly to the Bitcoin chart, same old thing. We're still butting up against that $780 mark. And it's just the same pattern every day now. Look, you can see these, well, I don't know what the hell to call them, tombstones. I kind of want to call them a hammer pattern, but the body of the candle is too far down to call it a hammer. So I guess you just class these as what you call doji patterns. But same again, when we break that $780 mark and then 800, we could be off. So in terms of the news then, I've turned once again to the Cointelegraph for this article that says class action filed to block the IRS from tracking Bitcoin users on Coinbase. So if you're not familiar with this ongoing story, then please refer back to 2 previous episodes of the Cryptoverse. In episode 149, I covered the original breaking story, and then in episode 156, I reported on a federal judge clearing the way for the IRS to do this clean sweep of American Coinbase users' private data. And when it comes to this story about the class action, I'm so pleased that people are pushing back already. Historically, when it comes to governments abusing their power, the people let them get away with it to begin with, because they don't see the harm. But that's just one step on a very slippery slope. Eventually people resist only when they realize that their backs are against the wall, by which time the power that they are facing is absolutely overwhelming. So it's crucial that power is checked, and it's checked early. So here we go. The article begins by saying a motion has been filed to block the Internal Revenue Service and their move to access the personal and Bitcoin transaction information of over 1 million US-based Coinbase customers between 2013 and 2015. But check out what the summons is actually asking for here. In the orange, it says, quote, the complete user profile, the history of changes to the user's profiles from the account inception, complete user preferences, complete user security settings, and the history including confirmed devices and account activity, complete user payment methods, and any other information related to the funding sources for the account holder, wallet, or vault, regardless of date. Now, like I've said before, this is weak. To me, this comes across as basically saying, we want to look at all your data just in case someone is breaking the law. Okay, so maybe they find a handful of people who are breaking the law, but the cost is a gross violation of the privacy of the other 999,000 innocent people. So I'm sorry, but this is just not justified. Present a case showing reasonable suspicion that a specific set of Coinbase customers are breaking the law, and I'll shut my mouth. And I imagine Coinbase will cooperate wholeheartedly. So then the next quote comes from this guy, Jeffrey Burns, who is this Los Angeles attorney who is defending against the IRS. And he's questioning the legitimacy of the summons. Quote, "There is no legitimate reason to seek these records. Individuals with no taxable events shouldn't be subject to a complete investigation because the IRS doesn't understand a developing technology." So when it says here, no legitimate reason, well, the reason they want this data is, like I said, just in case someone is breaking the law. But that's not good enough. You know, this reminds me of that phrase, a little knowledge is dangerous. In this case, the IRS doesn't know enough about Bitcoin, and that's dangerous. And I'm suggesting that the IRS doesn't know enough about Bitcoin on the basis of how general their request is. If they had submitted some forensic analysis of the Bitcoin blockchain that led them to wallets that were associated with Bitcoin users, then I'd have a very different perspective. So the article goes on here in the green. According to the filed motion stated to be heard on January the 19th, 2017, Burns' move to either squash the John Doe summons or ordered to be served upon Coinbase, or alternatively, for a protective order concerning the IRS summons to be made, on the grounds that the IRS has no legitimate purpose in seeking the questioned documents from Coinbase. So it actually mentions here the words abuse of process, which is just the sentence after the one I've just read. So when I made references earlier to the government's abuse of power, they are not just my own words. So let's just scroll down to this bit that talks about the citizens being under threat. The motion argues that the summons was not sought by the IRS with respect to any particular investigation, and the revenue collector has made no attempt to narrow the information covered by the summons to reflect its stated goal of confirming compliance with tax laws. So this is exactly what I talked about earlier and in my previous 2 episodes on this subject. The quote that comes after that, which I'm not going to read because it's far too long, it makes another point about why limiting the amount of data Coinbase hands over is so important. Basically, the more copies there are of these customers' information, the more points of attack there are available to hackers. So if the IRS gets full data of 1 million American Coinbase users, that greatly increases the risk exposure of that information being stolen. So let's finish this article off and I'll give you my philosophical interpretation here. It ends by saying, hopefully, this lawsuit will stop the IRS from getting taxpayer information for a tax grab from Coinbase, which also operates in 32 countries and has expressed its commitment to customer privacy and opposition to government efforts to obtain customer information. So I say, look, obtaining power is a very strategic game. And the reason the average person has very little power is because they don't think strategically. And even if they do, they think far too short term. So it's kind of like a game of chess, if you want to think of it that way. In chess, you have to make moves that not only position your pieces for later, but you also have to misdirect your opponent's attention so they don't see it coming. You almost want your opponent to see no particular link in between the moves that you're making, almost as if to make out to them like you don't have a strategy. And then suddenly when you make your final move that brings all the pieces together, it's checkmate. In the real world, what you do is set up regulations like KYC and AML, which require companies to log lots of personal information about their customers. And the way you get the regulations accepted is by hiding the true intentions. And you make out like it's to protect people from fraud or something. When really what they're doing is just putting an important piece on an important position on the board for them to use later. And this is why I'm always questioning the stated intention, because it's the easiest way to spot inconsistencies. For example, if a government body truly wishes to protect the privacy and the financial security of its citizens, if they truly wished to protect citizens from fraud and financial loss, then they would be one of the biggest champions of innovations like Bitcoin and blockchain technology. Given that these are the best tools to achieve their stated objective, and given that these governments and organizations are not champions of these tools, I can't accept that their intentions are genuine. And I suspect, therefore, that their true intentions remain hidden until that final move when you hear the words, checkmate. So thanks for joining me today, guys. If you liked this episode, hit the like button. If you disliked it, hit the dislike button. Please leave me a comment below with some feedback and get subscribed. And please support the Cryptoverse and boost cryptocurrency adoption by going to cryptoversity.com/podcast and becoming a patron. From as little as $10 a month, you can secure Cryptoversity's future, get unlimited access to all Cryptoversity courses, and access a private patrons-only chat group where you get direct access to me. That's all for today, guys. I'll be back on Monday with another episode of the Cryptoverse. So until then, it's me, Chris Coney, saying bye for now.